I had a very enjoyable vintage cube draft. It is almost perfect, this deck that I drafted. I say almost because it is land tax, but it doesn't have a scroll rack, which would have been the one thing that would have made it about as perfect as could be. I would say. Anyway, this deck has without having all the ancestral time walk and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, so this was the deck I drafted. Uh, what's nice about it is I have this Arid Mesa, which can fetch Hallowed Fountain, a basic plains, or the Volcanic Island that I drafted. I have no red cards, but I pulled those two just to make a really nice fetch land. And I'm only playing 16 lands with Maze of Ith as one of the lands, so I'm actually only playing 15 mana sources, 15 lands. But I have Mana Vault, and I have Swords to Plowshares, and then on the cheap side, I've got Wall of Omens and Impulse to Dig. Plus, I have Mana Drain as well as Worn Power Stone. So there's a lot of, even though there's only 15 mana in a control deck, it still works out pretty well. So I want to run through some of the games. We'll take a look at the sideboard cards also real quick. I was looking at possibly using more lands, of course, at one point. I had taken a Taiga since I had the fetch land in case I wanted to splash green for the Mystic Snake, which ultimately I considered was just a little too gimmicky for me, so I decided not to do it. But it would have been the way I could have done it. But with just one Taiga and a fetch to support the snake, I didn't feel like this was something I would sideboard in if I absolutely had to counter it. Like if my opponent was just pure combo and I had to play every counter spell possible, I'd cram in the Force Spike and I'd put that in and I'd hope. I think of all the cards here, the only sideboard cards I ultimately end up using are Armageddon at one point and Pithing Needle, I believe, are the only two cards I actually sideboard in. Everything else doesn't get used. So theoretically, I could run the Isochron Scepter Mana Drain, the no stick lock. But if I don't have Mana Drain or, say, Impulse to put under there, or maybe Swords to Plowshares, then I would just have a card that does nothing. And even if I had those things, my opponent could potentially kill the Isochron and 2-for-1 me. So I just didn't want to mess around with that. So let's take a look at the games because they were quite good actually. Date and time today. Only thing I played today. All right. So we'll run through these. All right. So opening hand, perfect. Any hand with Mana Drain and two islands is a perfect hand. But also I have Days, Wall of Omens, the Plains. That's going to work out real nicely for some early defense. It turns out my opponent appears to be playing. I had passed the temple thinking I would wheel it, and then it looks like this guy snagged it. Unfortunately for me. But I deem that it's probably safe enough that he's not going to play a 2-drop, and if he really played a 2-drop, I had to target, I'd daze it. So I go ahead and tap out for the wall just to dig, because I want to make sure I keep hitting mana drops. True Name Nemesis, that will get dazed. Daze while you can. So now that I've got the Arid Mace, I actually have 3 blue, so I could actually Mana Drain and Treasure Cruise. Excuse me. Still got that cough. Tax, fantastic in the control mirror. So he plays Shadow Mage here, and this was probably a mistake here. So anyway, end of turn, since it seems safe enough, I go ahead and fetch Hallowed Fountain. So he plays Shadow Mage. I probably... see, it was an opportunity to run a mana leak out and save Banishing Light and hold Mana Drain for later. So I decide to, but I decide I'm going to let it go and then Banishing Light the Shadow Mage. And then I draw Maze of Ith, and I don't know why. So I was so like hell-bent on Banishing Light on the Shadow Mage, I didn't play the Maze of Ith. That would have been the correct play, was just play the Maze of Ith, and then I think it was just because I had 8 cards in hand, I didn't want to discard, but it seems kind of like a poor reason to do this right here. So I think that was probably an error. So he plays Westvale Abbey. So Westvale Abbey is pretty good in the control mirror. He can slowly produce creatures and then eventually create this giant 9/7. Fortunately, even though it has haste, I've got the Maze of Ith, so I'm not super worried about what could happen with the, if he makes a giant dude. But we'll just play it nice and slow here. He keeps letting me land tax because he doesn't want to miss land drops in the control mirror, which is why land tax is so insane. Like, you just can't choose not to play lands. Kills my wall so he can do 1 point of damage. That's fantastic for me because it puts more cards in my graveyard for Treasure Cruise. I'm certainly not going to fight with that. So for now, I'm just hitting land drops. I'm not worried about the 1/1s. I've got sweepers. I've got moat. We'll get to the 1/1s. And meanwhile, okay, so he plays Recurring Nightmare. So I impulse in response, putting away Gideon, Jace, a Worn Power Stone, and taking Consecrated Sphinx. So the thought is, the problem is, of course, Recurring Nightmare and this is a pretty good combo. He only has True Name Nemesis here to target, who I don't really care about ultimately because I'm pretty sure that I'm going to find a moat in short order, and the reason I think that is I got a Consecrated Sphinx now. I'm holding Treasure Cruise, and I've already impulsed and taxed. So, I mean, some of these cards that we're seeing in the 18 cards in my library, I've already seen. But that said, there are cards he could have, creatures he could have, that I don't want him to recur, which haven't shown up yet. And because I'm worried about those creatures, those future possible creatures, I go ahead and just Mana Drain here. So he plays Spellskite. That's certainly not a card I was afraid of. I do very little target. I guess it can make me target it with the Maze of Ith, but not really a big deal. So I get the Mana Drain mana and I use it. I'm thinking about the best way to do this. I go ahead and just play the Sphinx and decide I'm just going to chill out and just draw some cards. Finding a Glen Elendra, so he gets Tasigur out. I can't really do anything about that right now. Alright, so there's the moat, but before I play it, of course, I want to get Glen Elendra down. Now we can play Worn Power Stone. I'm sitting on 2 mana for double Glen Elendra activation or a single mana leak if I need to. And I actually am concerned about decking myself, so I stopped drawing cards. And he plays Massacre Worm, but all that really does is persist Glen and deal a few points of damage to me. So I'm not too worried about it. Excuse me, and I can maze the Tasigur, so unless he's using it to draw cards, it's not really a big deal for me. He uses his Pithing Needle for some strange reason, or his Sensei's Divining Top, rather. So I go ahead and just take 2 extra cards, hoping to find even more counters, and I do. I get a Force of Will. So I play Moat, Elspeth, and I got to be real careful here, and I go ahead and take 2 more cards. So although I'm worried about decking, I want to get enough blue cards with... Force is probably going to be using Treasure Cruise because it's pointless with this guy out. But I just want to continue to... what I'm trying to do is put the game away before he can find a solution to the problems that I've put in a play. And one of my concerns, of course, is... Well, so I've got Elspeth Moat, and the combo here is that Elspeth's ultimate makes all my creatures bigger and gives them all flying. So I can fly over the moat with everything that I've got, no matter what it is. So that's kind of like one of the plans. I could have destroyed all creatures power 4 or greater, just to take out Tasigur and this guy, but I didn't want to kill the Consecrated Sphinx. So that was the other reason why I was drawing, is just to try to draw while I could in case I needed to pull that trigger. So anyway, he makes a horrible play here and goes all in on a gigantic Flying Lifelink, Indestructible Haste. Indestructible nothing, man. I'm just going to untap that thing. And then he's completely locked out. And because... So he plays Animate Dead with only 2 mana left. And because I have an opportunity to Mana League at a time when I might not have had... I can save Glen Elendra for other things. I'm going to go ahead and leak that. And now I'm going to Glen Elendra his top, because he's down to so few cards in hand that, and I've got a Force of Will that I just want to, like I said, I just want to end the game, and I'm going to try to prevent him from, because without the top, I can use Jace to mess with I can control the top of his deck, but I can't do that if it top. So anyway, I get Jace down, make his flyer go away with Jace's ability, and now I have him set up to potentially start hitting the top of his deck. He time walks, which is a little bit bad. He follows it up with Shieldred. So I was thinking about how to respond. I've got 5 cards in the library here. So I haven't drawn a Swords of Plowshares or a Path of Exile yet. And if I can just kill this thing, I don't have to. Then I won't have to waste a counterspell on it. And I don't want to use the last counterspell in my deck for that. Certainly sacrificing a creature is nothing to me, but him getting a free Massacre Worm, who would shrink all my guys and cause me to take tons of damage. That's not too cool. So so thinking about the best way to deal with this, I decided to make a risky play here. I believe, yeah. I figure out how many cards do I need to actually win the game. I've only got 5 left in the deck. So there were, like I said, 2 instant speed removals in the deck still. And I bank on the fact that they won't be the bottom 2 cards. And we know that because I impulsed cards to the bottom of the deck. So we knew they had to be sooner. So I respond to excuse me, Shieldred by drawing extra cards, and then I go ahead and just I path Shieldred away. And I realized I'd made a small mistake here with tapping my mana. This should have been white untapped. But so I can't swords right now. But swords, I didn't want to swords the Shieldred anyway because I didn't want to give him life because I actually have to kill him in, well, almost a turn now, 2 turns. You finally seem to have run out of gas. So there's that volcanic that I put down earlier. So I go ahead and plus up and bury an I bury an unburial rights, ironically enough, from his side of the table. Hit him once, and if he's got nothing, then we're in good shape. So he makes a guy and plays Desecration Demon. I think about Desecration Demon, it's certainly not an issue for me at all. Okay, so last card, Elesh Norn. So I go ahead and bounce his token with Jace. Ultimate my Planeswalker. All of a sudden everything flies, and now Moat is not a problem. I have 0 cards in the library, calculated it all out exactly correct, and we're about to go lethal. So he scoops it up, so that was pretty cool. Alright, so that was game 1. And in game 2, so I've used a lot of time, so 12:55, so I need game 2 to go a little bit quicker. Fortunately, I lead off with tax. And I've got a bunch of expensive cards in my hand, but I've got tax. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to hit land drops while I can, ultimately planning to tax in the long run. Because I drew Mana Drain, though, I don't play a land here. I was hoping to get an island, and I do. Because it looks like he wants to play tax games with me, and that just gives me time to find an island for Mana Drain. So now that he doesn't have 2 blue, I'm going to go ahead and just play Jace and take a chance. And Lantax Jace is not Lantax Scroll Rack, but it's still pretty doggone good. So I haven't actually taxed yet, but I haven't, because of Jace, I haven't failed to hit a land drop. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of Spellskite because I would have to get rid of him anyway. So I might as well do it now when I have the mana to spare, rather than later when I might find myself in a bind trying to cast too many things at once. So it's funny because Lantax caused him to play badly, but it's not actually doing a tremendous amount for me. So get Glen Elendra down. He's got an Ancestral Visions that's ticking away over there. Goes for the throat on Glen. Not sure why. I mean, the best way to use that is... So I thought about, I could have Jaced Glen back to my hand, but I mean, I have other things to do. And I've got enough counter magic. I just want to try to put the game away as fast as I can rather than get tricky. So again, I have a Mana Leak target. I'm going to go ahead and take it. Could have drained it, but... and he plays Collective Brutality and discards a card to plus it up for some reason. So with that in mind, I go ahead and just counter it with Glen Elendra. Alright, so now we're getting crazy, right? We're going to get swarms of guys everywhere and a lot of attacking. And what's nice is the Gideon can give everything +1/+1 here if I need to. So, but Elesh Norn can give everything +2/+2. And with that, he's dead man. So we play that. These all become 3/3, so it's 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I activate Gideon. He becomes a 7/7. I attack for 20. So I could literally go from full life to 0 in the single turn. If I had done no damage to him at all in this entire game, he would still be dead this turn, which is pretty amazing, actually. So, the power of... and that was really the power of Jace right there. I'm so sorry about that. So, game or second opponent here. I've got a hand that's very questionable. So, I mean, do you keep this or not? Like, it absolutely must draw 2 planes, right? But if it draws just 1, then I can at least swords to buy some time. I don't know what I'm facing, so I don't even know if that's any good. And I get Sphinxes for 1. That's not so good. But it's enough mana. I figure I'll keep it, and he does this. Ancient Tomb, Mox Diamond, Trinket Mage into Mox Opal. Basalt Monolith. Okay. So I was thinking, well, if he's out of gas, maybe. And I drew a white, so that's good. Unfortunately, having drawn the white actually hurts me here. Because if I had stuck with islands, I would only lost 1 island here. Well, nothing I can do about that. So I actually played Maze of Ith since I have no plays for a while. I'm gonna try to recover and hope that he just like kind of went all in on this early stuff. But when I see the scroll rack, I feel really bad because 1, this guy drafted my scroll rack. 2, he's gonna be able to see twice as many cards each turn, so he's gonna probably find something useful soon. Dak Faden's gonna help him out with that, but it's not impossible for me to deal with this hand, actually. And that Maze of Ith has saved me a ton of damage this game. So he gets Memory Jar and just blows it right away, which I don't understand at all. Plays a Signet. So my thought here is I'm actually going to Impulse in order to take the worst card and throw it away to the Memory Jar, not realizing that I just threw away I have no dual lands now, because I threw away my. Well, anyway, it didn't matter in the end. I drew a planes, but it would have been nice to have had a duel. Anyway, he plays Deceiver Exarch though, and I realize, okay, I'm probably in a lot of trouble here. It looks like he's playing some kind of combo deck, so I have a choice here. So I have a lot of choices to make. If he's playing combo, if he's trying to get Kiki Jiki combo, he's probably pretty close because he's been using a Scroll Rack and Dak Faden constantly. On the other hand, he's got a Mindslaver over there I see in the graveyard and an Academy Ruins with a ton of mana. I figure I've got to attack and kill Dak Faden, but the question is, do I kill Deceiver Exarch or not? And just assume, just assuming that that's going to be what he's trying to do. And I decide that's kind of reading into it a little too deep. He might just be using Deceiver Exarch to untap Basalt Monolith and get a creature while he's at it, that kind of thing. So there's no guarantee. So I go ahead and Path Trinket since it does more damage. Of course, he recurs Mindslaver. And so in response, I go ahead and Sphinxes for 1 because I got to do something. Excuse me. All right, so this is the turn he's controlling. I think playing Wall of Omens here was kind of wrong, but let him be wrong. That's fine with me. He's trying to figure out how to attack my Gideon and can't find a way to do it. But I actually might be able to pull this game back out, and then nope. Kiki Jiki combo. Should have listened to my instincts. If I had a path that, I might have had a chance this game. There's always a chance he could have played his Slaver into my Council's Judgment, or who knows. Well, at any rate, I lost that one. So with my opponent getting 7 mana on turn 2 or 8 mana on turn 2, I was a little worried, you might say. But I got a pretty good opening hand, so I decided to keep. I think it's early Sheldock Isle, and Sheldock Isle scares me because we're definitely going to be he's definitely going to, the requirements are going to be met 100% with that card. So, and then turn 2 Jace shows up to the party. Awesome. He sends me some message about sometimes you're the bug and sometimes you're the windshield. So I'm just Jacing to set myself up. I thought about disrupting his mana base, but he has so much ramp that Banishing Light might be better saved for something like that, perhaps. Although I think I'd rather counter that, so I decided to do that. I'll just not give him the card quality at all. So Glen Elendra is a big deal here. Almost all of his cards are targetable by Glen. So he gets a memory draw out. I'm not going to force that. What I'm going to do is try and get him to activate it prematurely so that it does basically nothing. So the trick here is I'm going to Jace and I'm going to put cards back that I don't want. So I put back cards I want to discard. And I use his memory jar to strip off a bunch of cards that I don't want. So yeah, there's no stopping his mana. He's down to 20 cards, so I gotta be wary of Shelldock Isle. He's got Worker now. I can't afford to waste a counter on any of that. I draw Elesh Norn so good. So the trick here is setting up for Elesh Norn. So I go ahead and Treasure Cruise into a full hand. So you go to Shelldock into Deceiver Exarch, and I realize I have to let... So I could force a will to Deceiver Exarch in order to keep my Jace alive, but there's only 13 cards left in my deck, and I have a Consecrated Sphinx in my hand and plenty of mana. So it's not like I'm gonna run out of draw engine here. So I will let him kill the Jace and save Force of Will for a real threat. That just gives him temporary parity, and with Elesh Norn about to come down, that's not even real parity. And I've counted my manas correctly so that I'm able to. Yeah, so I've got 2 blue available, and now I mean Glen's hitting him for 4. It's not looking too good for him. So I really just want to hold the line rather than trying to protect that. So because he might be getting up to, I actually decide that I'm gonna disrupt his mana a little bit on the Mox play. Only because I didn't want him to play. I'm worried about his 8 drops, and I want to make sure that Daze is still functional. But when he plays his second Signet, I decide against that plan because he's down to only 1 card in hand, and at that point, there are enough cards for me to. And at that point, if he has just a 1 big guy, see that area is Sundering Titan. I've got the mana drain, so. And with that going on, he scoops it up. He was dead anyway. I don't even know that Titan would have made a difference because all my guys were 3/3s. Such a nasty combo. So, yet again, first turn Mana Vault. Here to save the day. And my opponent's got a slow start, and then I don't know what... Oh yeah, he does port here. I could have swore he... I can't remember if he did or didn't. So I get an early Glen down against this guy is pretty huge. Excuse me, he gets a Mox, and I had sideboard in Pithing Needle against him. And right here becomes super great because I'm able to Pithing Needle his port. It doesn't prevent it from tapping for mana, but he can no longer activate his non-mana ability. So he's not going to be able to push spells through. And because right now, I would like to get 2 white out, but for now, it's kind of a race. It's a beatdown race. So I have an opportunity here to counter XR. Okay, so hold on a sec. Let's stop. So, I don't know. If you were me, would you have done that? I thought about countering Exarch, and then I thought, well, if he has a Kiki-Jiki, he's going to slam it if I let the Exarch go. And then he's going to, and I could leak that. So, but I thought, well, what are the chances? You know, like, what are the odds, right? That he drew triple mountain Kiki-Jiki Deceiver Exarch after we've seen so much of his deck and how bad it is. So I decided... incorrectly, as it turns out, to counter the Deceiver Exarch. So now he's cloning Trinket Mages, and he uses it to go get a Mox Opal. And, I mean, I can counter the Mox Opal in theory, but... So I drew land tax here, and... Excuse me. I really need another I need another plains, of course. So if he'll just do me the solid of playing a land. So he's out of things to fetch with Trinket Mage. And this time I correctly untapped the one who's going to die. I should have done that last time. He uses Mox Diamond to avoid running into the tax. Ah, and I top deck. Thank goodness. Because I'm getting beat down by my Mana Vault and the Trinket Mage. But now that that guy's gone, I have a chance. Okay, well, we're definitely going to counter a mana-producing card drawer. And we'll just keep mazing. And then my opponent makes a huge error. I don't know what he was thinking. And he realizes it as soon as he did it. He played a land. So I go ahead and I think that was a little aggressive of me to exile his Mox Diamond. But you notice he's at 7 mana, and I was really afraid of his 8 mana drop. So, of his the 7-10 split. Of course, then when he plays Rakdos Signet, I realize like I can't really afford to. I can't really afford to. I probably wasted my exile target permanent card when I played it. So as much as I'd like to keep land taxing, it's far more important to just take the 3 cards and then drive on with the game. So that's what I'm doing. What I'm trying to do is get to a counter as fast as I can. My opponent right here. I'm sorry. He just says something to the effect of he cannot beat Glenelendra, and he just scoops. So that was pretty awesome there. So his deck seemed really scary and unfair, but it should. It's Vintage Cube. Speaking of scary and unfair, this last opponent. So I have a great start here, by the way. So this last opponent realizes that everybody's drafting blue, so he just drafts mono green. So I swords his first guy, daze his second guy, and use its attacks. He sends me a nice play message. And I figure I've got Elesh Norn, he's mono green from what I can see. So he should be like completely, this should be game over, right? I have amazing draw, and then he plays Eureka. So I decide, well, all I can really do is just play everything. At least I have a handful of permanents. Every single card was a permanent. He gets Poru Kranos and Karn, and then he Karns away my my guy. He's Karning my hand and trying to, so he's trying to get to where he can use Karn without losing it. He doesn't want a -3 to kill my Elesh Norn. And I probably shouldn't let him hit my hand, but at the same time, if he ever -3s the Elesh Norn, then well, the thing was, if he ever didn't go hand, I guess I didn't want to play the lands because of land tax anyway. All right, so this is a little bit of a tough one. So I had to think about what to do here. So I decided. So there was some risk here. The greatest payout was I play Jace here, and then I draw 3 cards, and I find removal for his guy and remove his guy permanently, and then attack Karn back down to 3 again, just like before. But I didn't feel like there was a guarantee that that was going to work out. And if it didn't work out, it was going to be horrible because I cannot allow Karn. Karn has to stay at 3 counters at all times. Basically, I can't allow Karn to get to be able to -3 and not die. Pretty much I'll lose if that happens. So I decide to bounce his prime time and then Elesh Norn into Karn to make sure that he's in that same predicament. So he decides ultimately to just kill my Jace, which is an interesting thing. Jace land tax is pretty strong, and I can totally see what he was thinking here. But I traded Jace for an Elesh Norn, and that against mono green, that feels like a pretty good trade. And I get to tax my way back up to more cards, so I get to pull every single basic land out of my deck, which is 1 more. But And now, with Elish Norn saying, hey, your creatures probably don't matter much, and Glen Elendra saying your spells don't matter much, I'm feeling pretty good here. Right up until this happens. And then he throws away an Arbor Elf. I think he was just missing. He just wasn't thinking about it. Oh, of course, I drew the Mana Drain the turn after Kozilek. Yuck. So, okay, we're done with tax. We're done with Vault. We'll throw away a few of these. So I'm trying to figure out, I've got it's kind of a race. Ah, man, he's putting a ton of pressure on my white, but I have to, I chose the sack the way I did, and I kind of have to like let it go. So here's the thing, he's almost dead. If I get hit, the the Annihilator's annoying, but excuse me, it's not the real issue here. The issue here is taking 10. So I decide I'm going to do something a little tricky. I'll sack Glen as 1, and then chump block, basically. I want to keep Elish Norn. I think it's super critical that I keep Elish Norn on the table, and look what I drew. I was hoping I'd draw Moat, right? 2, 4, and then I can just sit on Mana Drain. Moat or, something along those lines. I mean, I might have drawn like a Wrath of God, but Banishing Light is so good because he recurs, but this will keep him from doing exactly that. And my opponent was going after my white, so he wastes he's used an acidic slime already. So he plays this Nissa thing, which gives him a 2/2 over and over. I'm trying to finish the game. I thought about mana draining, but his deck's so dangerous, I just couldn't talk myself into it. And then I was really glad I didn't. When he tries to play that Woodfall Primus, I mean, you guys basically got access to the best of everything in the format. And then Faith's Fetters. Oh, yeah. Hit him down to 1. And I think this is it. I've got him. And then... ah, jeez. Plays that thing. So I rip a Treasure Cruise here. So we're going to draw a bunch. And I'm feeling a little bit better. I've got Force of Will, at least. And then I don't know if he doesn't entwine it here, so I was thinking, man, this guy's brilliant. He's playing around Mana Leak, but I have to let it go. I decide because he just does the tutor, so he ends up searching for Terastodon Rex Sage, right? And I figure what I have to have happen is I've got exactly what happened. I either need to clean it up with Supreme Verdict, or I've got to counter my way the 2 cards, and I had 2 counters, and I figured maybe he would try to cast after the Tooth and Nail resolved since he left 2 mana floating. That's exactly what he did. He tried to cast Sirek Sage, and so he walked it into my Mana Leak, which was huge because it was extremely unlikely I was going to get any action out of that Mana Leak at all. So here, I know he's going to play Terastodon. So here an argument could have been made that I should have just Sphinxed a bunch of cards into my hand so I could force a will as opposed to hard casting. But here's the problem. I've only got 6 cards left in my library, and I really need to finish this guy off. I'm going to finish this game off here. So I'm gonna counter the Terastodon. And then rip Council's Judgment, and my opponent scoops it up. Rolfir Silverheart was gonna get exiled. And then I think good things were going to happen. Which, if I were him, I wouldn't have scooped until after drawing, because he might have drawn another blocker or whatever. But it's pretty hard to find him with Elish Norn out. It was amazing that. What was amazing to me is that I won that game. He attacked me twice with Kozilek, and I won that game. It was pretty awesome. So game 2. I have the perfect hand. Like, could not be more perfect against the mono green deck. So I am 100% certain I'm going to win this hand. So I just play a tap land there. He plays Channel. Holy crap. I didn't go first. I can't Mana Drain. Green Sun Zenith into Woodfall Primus. You're kidding me. If I would have just let off with an island here so that I had double white, none of this would matter. But look, I'm missing white. Then he goes for Silverheart, which I'm going to Mana Drain out of desperation. I don't even want to Mana Drain that. But, I mean, how am I possibly going to win this? Well, The answer is I'm not. I'm down to 4. There's no possible way for me to get 2 white into play. And then stop tooth and nail. So I had an unlosable hand that lost. Pretty rough, man. This is a brutal, brutal format. So game 3, I have to mulligan. And I mulligan to this and decide to keep. Oh, by the way, so he was playing mono green big stuff. So I decided to sideboard in Armageddon. And I mulligan into this pretty decent disruption hand with an Armageddon in it and an artifact mana, my only artifact mana as a matter of fact, that is permanent, reusable. So Cruz is on top, so I'm going to tuck that. And I'll go ahead and just play the tap land again. Hopefully I don't regret it. Hopefully, and I drew an island, which is so good right there. And then Gideon. So now I've got a serious game plan. So he plays that guy, which lets him play lands off the top. Let's leave it alone for now. Oh, God. And he's got Gaia's Cradle and a whole bunch of other nasty stuff. So I go ahead and Banishing Light. He's got Oracle and that guy. So I go ahead and I can see his top card of his library, but I need to clear guys out to make Cradle weaker. I also need to prevent him from playing lands off the top and defeating the Lotus Cobra. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out right now. Make a guy, and then so it's his draw phase, right? So he draws a card. Now he's going to be able to play a land off the top because of Courser, but it's still his draw phase. So now I go ahead and path the Courser. So he cannot use, so it costs him mana from Cradle. He's going to go get a land, which will trigger Cobra, but it's going to cost him a mana because he'll empty it before he moves to his main phase. And he will not get to play a land off the top of his deck. So I've taken away 1 mana from Cradle, 1 mana from a Cobra trigger, and 1 mana from the land he would have played. So he's lost 3 mana with this Path of Exile during his draw phase. Path to Exile, rather. Path of Exile's my friend's game, Brian's game. All right, so this is where we want to be. There's nobody, because I've used Path and Light, there's actually no creature in the graveyard for Scavenging Ooze to feed off of, and we're just going to keep using Gideon for value. The best thing I could draw right here, honestly, is actually just a land. And boop, there's a land. Well, Force of Will wouldn't have sucked. But yeah, a land's fantastic because it lets me float just enough mana to Armageddon, play a land, play a wall, draw a card, produce another guy, and with that, he sends me a message that says, nice games, thanks. And he gives up. So he's the big green deck, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana sources just hit the bin. And his Arbor Elf, who untaps Forest, doesn't have any Forest untapped, and he's down to 1 card in hand. So basically, against big green like that, Armageddon is the white version of Mind Twist. It Mind Twists exactly what he needs. But not just did it kill, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards for 1, but it also killed a bunch of future plays because he's not going to have any mana. He's going to draw tons of big stuff. And meanwhile, Gideon's going to take over, and eventually we're going to get down to Sphinx territory. So I thought that was pretty cool, pretty exciting, fun Magic that I got to play with a very good deck in a format that is filled with all kinds of amazing, explosive plays. And I was really pleased that the Armageddon I sideboarded in and worked out so well, and that the Pithing Needle came in handy in the game when I brought that in as well. So both cases that worked out very nicely for me, and that was quite fortunate. And in that game against Big Green, I actually sideboarded out the Maze of Ith and sideboarded in the Armageddon. Maze of Ith being pretty weak when you plan to blow up all the lands in play. So that was the way that I had chosen to do that. Anyway, that's all I've got. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.